Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story we're calling The Ice Fortress, a masterclass in mountain warfare. We're going to be looking at one of the most astonishing, high-stakes military operations literally ever conducted in extreme altitudes. It's a mission that completely defied human limits, relying entirely on sheer tactical brilliance and unbelievable physical endurance. We're going to break down the intense events of Operation Megdut at the Siachen Glacier, and specifically, the incredible actions of Subedar Major Benasing. Imagine standing on a glacier that sits a staggering 21,000 feet above sea level. Just wrap your head around that altitude for a second. At this height, you aren't just fighting an opposing military force, you are fighting the Earth itself. The Siachen Glacier is consistently referred to as the world's highest active battlefield, and this extreme elevation is exactly why. Before a single shot is even fired, every single movement, every step, takes a monumental physical toll on the human body. Now, factor in the brutal reality of the environment. We're talking temperatures that routinely plummet to a bone-chilling -40 degrees Celsius. To put that into perspective, at that temperature, the human body is pushed well past its absolute breaking point. Frostbite isn't just a possibility, it's a constant, immediate threat. I mean, if a soldier removes a glove even for a split second to adjust their gear, their bare skin will instantly freeze to the raw metal of their rifle. Lubricants inside weapons actually solidify, causing critical jams when you need them the most. Just surviving these conditions day to day is a massive undertaking, let alone conducting complex military maneuvers. And as if that wasn't enough, at this dizzying height, your lungs are desperately fighting for basic survival with only 50% of the normal oxygen available in the air. So, you're freezing, your equipment is failing, you're physically exhausted from the altitude, and you're literally suffocating with every single step. This is the extreme, entirely inhospitable canvas on which this historic military operation was painted. It was against these seemingly insurmountable odds that an unbelievable mission was planned and executed. Okay, let's move into Section 1, the deadly challenge of Quaid Post. So, how did we get here? This timeline traces exactly how the Siachen Glacier rapidly transformed from an uninhabitable wasteland into a highly contested battlefield. It all started in April 1984, when India launched Operation Megdut. They swiftly secured crucial mountain passes like Bilafan Law and Siala before Pakistani forces could deploy in large numbers. This move gave India control over the high-altitude regions of the glacier. In response, between 1984 and 1987, Pakistan heavily fortified its positions and established a vital observation site called the Quiet Post, perched right on the Saltoro Ridge. And by June 1987, the tension surrounding this specific post had reached an absolute boiling point. You see, the lethal threat of Quaid Post simply cannot be overstated. It acted as an impregnable fortress. Because it was sitting up there at 21,000 feet with steep, treacherous slopes all around, Pakistani forces held an absolute high ground advantage. They had crystal clear visibility of every single Indian troop movement on the glacier right below them. From this elevated vantage point, they could launch highly precise machine gun and artillery fire. But perhaps most devastatingly, they were able to completely disrupt the crucial helicopter supply lines that the Indian troops desperately relied on for food, weapons, and basic survival necessities. It was a severe, constant threat that Indian forces could no longer ignore. Which brings us to Section 2, Plan to Climb Vertical Ice Wall. Conventional frontal assaults were, well, basically suicidal. After direct attacks failed, leaving troops completely exposed in the open snow where they were easily spotted and repelled by the forces at Quaid Post, military leadership realized a frontal assault was physically impossible. So they completely rethought their approach. They decided on a rear attack. But here's the catch. The rear approach required scaling a near-vertical wall of solid ice. It was highly dangerous, bordering on a total death wish. But it offered one massive advantage. It was completely hidden from enemy view. Critically, the defending Pakistani forces believed absolutely no one could attack from that sheer drop. The immense responsibility of executing this near-suicidal climb fell upon a highly trained and fiercely determined team. The 8th Jammu and Kashmir Light Infantry was selected for this incredibly grueling job, specifically a small team led by Virendra Singh and Naib Subedar Benasing, a man who was heavily respected for his ability to operate in these crushing conditions. Preparing for this required extreme stealth. They had to send out quiet patrols in the dead of night, studying the treacherous, shifting ice terrain while under constant threat of enemy fire, carefully mapping a path where absolutely none existed. The entire success of the mission hinged entirely on absolute secrecy, incredible speed, and the element of total surprise.
Let's dive into Section 3, Stealth Attack Amidst the Blizzard.
Now, while most of us would view a violent snowstorm as a deadly obstacle, something to hunker down and hide from, the Indian forces tactically leveraged a blinding blizzard as their primary shield. In June 1987, a fierce snowstorm battered the mountains. Visibility dropped to near zero, but instead of waiting it out in their tents, the team used the storm. Because of the terrible visibility, the Pakistani forces couldn't possibly track the Indian team's movements. They literally turned the worst weather on Earth into their greatest tactical asset.
Equipped with ropes, ice axes, and crampons, the assault team began scaling this near-vertical wall of ice. They ascended for grueling hours in the dead middle of that freezing blizzard. Remember the incredible stakes of this climb. They're at 21,000 feet, functioning on just 50% of normal oxygen, with muscles screaming from exertion and cold. One single slip meant plunging silently into a deep, frozen abyss. Yet, incredibly, after hours of agonizing climbing, they breached the summit completely undetected. What immediately followed was a fierce, hand-to-hand, close-quarters battle. Using rifles, bayonets, and grenades, the Indian forces overwhelmed the defending troops and successfully captured the Quaid post.
And that leads us to Section 4, the historic Bana Top victory. Seizing this single peak completely flipped the tactical advantage on the glacier. It was a total game changer. For the Pakistani military, losing their most critical observation post immediately compromised their long-held dominance over that particular section of the Soltaro Ridge. On the other side of the equation, the Indian military decisively secured the Bilafon Law region. From this newly captured high ground, Indian troops could now effectively monitor enemy movements across the landscape and safely secure their own vital supply lines. By taking the peak, they gained a permanent strategic upper hand in this sector.
Finally, Section 5, the eternal legacy of PVC.
The sheer courage and tactical brilliance displayed that day left a permanent mark on military history. Immediately following the hard-fought victory, the captured Quaid post was officially renamed Bana Top in honor of the man who led the relentless assault. For his unparalleled bravery and leadership, Subedar Major Bana Singh was awarded the Paramveer Chakra, that's India's absolute highest military honor for gallantry in the face of the enemy. And strategically, even nearly 4 decades later, this mission is globally studied by military historians and tacticians. It remains an absolute masterclass in high-altitude mountain warfare, definitively proving that meticulous planning, highly innovative tactics, and specialized training can overcome even the most impossible geographic barriers.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought about the incredible intersection of human willpower, extreme environments, and strategic brilliance. We started by looking at an impossible wall of solid ice at 21,000 feet, completely wrapped in a blinding blizzard, and what we found was a profound testament to the fact that sometimes the greatest tactical advantage isn't a new piece of technology or a massive weapon, but the human capacity to endure what everyone else believes is strictly impossible. Think about that the next time you face an insurmountable wall in your own life. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.